All right, so one of the things I like about this Denago fat tire step-through bike is the fact that you can just step through the middle of the frame and get on and start riding. So hey, what's up, y'all? This is my review of the Denago fat tire step-through bike. That's the actual name of it. But anyway, this bike comes in at $1,799, and this does have a 750 watt Bafang motor. And this one comes in one single colorway, a mix between white and black. It's pretty stylish, but the main thing about this bike that really stands out to people is the big 26 by 4-inch fat tires. And I'm giving these tires a little bit of a test now because I'm going over some cobblestone, and these big old tires make it good for going in grass and stuff like I am now. And we have a little bit of a hill here, and this bike ate it on up. So yeah, the 750 watt motor does have 80 Newton meters of torque, which is pretty good to have for a bike of this size. And it does just have a front suspension fork, so it makes little drops like that, you know, a little bit better, but definitely without having any type of rear suspension or any type of suspension seat post by default. Does mean that this bike, you know, if you are going on hard terrain and stuff, it's not going to be super comfortable. But the front suspension is hydraulic, it is also adjustable, and it is a zoom suspension fork, so that's a pretty good company when it comes to these. But overall, the ride of this bike, it is going to be sitting you up off of the ground a little bit higher than other bikes because of these big 26 by 4-inch fat tires. And I actually like that. It feels like I'm just like riding above the normal street traffic of people walking around and even other bikes. So yeah, this thing feels good to be very upright. But also, as far as the riding position, I would say that I am leaning forward just a little bit, but it's not that bad. Now, as far as the handlebar grips, they're pretty good and decent. And on the right-hand side, you will find the controls for the 7-speed Shimano derailleur that you do have. So the shifter is pretty standard, but works really well. And then on the left-hand side, you'll actually find the thumb throttle along with some of the buttons to be able to control this really nice color LCD display. This display gives you all of that useful information, your speed, distance, all that stuff. And I just love that little splash of color because you don't get that with a lot of e-bikes. A lot of e-bikes still just use black and white displays. So I like the way this screen does look, and it is nice and bright, especially riding in the middle of the day like I am now. And you know what? Let me go through some of this grass again. And it's such beautiful weather out here in St. Louis, and the fall with the leaves coming down and stuff, it just really makes riding around like this really fun. But one thing I really enjoy on this bike is the torque sensor. So torque sensors are going to be one of the better upgrades for e-bikes compared to the traditional cadence sensor. So basically a torque sensor is going to be able to sense your pedaling and just apply the power from the motor just more naturally. So as soon as you start pedaling, the motor kicks in and starts helping you instead of having a little bit of a delay that you sometimes get with cadence sensors. So the torque sensor is really nice to have on any e-bike of any price. And on this bike, it's actually pretty good. And you do have 5 levels of pedal assist. And the top speed for this bike is going to be coming in at 28 miles per hour when you are using pedal assist. But then when you are just using the throttle like I am now, you are just going to be looking at getting 20 miles per hour. And just going through the gears, everything feels very nice and natural. Nothing is kind of getting hung up or anything. So really, really good shifter here. And let me go off this curb a little bit to see how it is to jump this bike. Oh yeah, all right, so not that bad. All right, so now for my speed test here. First test is just going to be using throttle only. 3, 2, 1, boom. All right, so takeoff is pretty decent. But one thing I did notice is that we do get up to that 20 mile per hour speed pretty quickly. We're already at 17, 18 miles per hour. And we just hit 20 on the bike's display, and we just hit 19.5 on the GPS app on my phone. So acceleration for this bike is actually pretty good. I really like it. So now I'm gonna switch over to the pedal assist. And again, we should be able to get up to 28 miles per hour with the 750 watt motor. And I'm not trying that hard, but yeah, we already hit 28 on the bike's display. And we're at 25. 27.5 on my GPS app. But overall, I would say that the speed is pretty spot on to what they advertise. To get that 28 miles per hour with the pedal assist, I do have to work a little hard though. So I think if I was just pedaling kind of normal, maybe 26, 27 is what I would expect. Uh-oh, this is a tight gap. I don't know if I can make this. I'm gonna try. All right, I made it without cutting up my pants. And let me test out these hydraulic disc brakes here. Let me get some speed. Oh yeah, a little bit of sliding there, but it is very loose with a lot of gravel and glass over here. But overall, the brakes have been pretty good. This bike does weigh 79 pounds, so it's not super heavy. It actually looks a little bit heavier than what it actually weighs, but you can always take out the battery using one of the 2 included keys to make it a little bit lighter. The biggest probably trouble that people will have with the size of this bike will just be with the size of the tires when it comes to putting it on your bike rack and stuff. But overall, the bike is a little bit easier to move around, especially with the fact that you do have a little handle here on the seat. So this handle does make it a little bit easier for you to be able to, carry this bike up some stairs and stuff. So that's actually pretty convenient. And so I love when bikes do add that. And overall, the seat, or the saddle, as a lot of companies call it, is actually pretty good, pretty decent. So it's good for a standard seat, not the plushiness that I've ever used, but also not the hardest. And it also does have a little bit of width too. So I'm not mad at this seat for a stock seat. But one of the upgrades that I personally would do on this bike, if I am planning to make this my full-time e-bike, is to add a suspension seat post, and that will just make the ride a little bit more comfortable. Oh, and this bike does come in 2 different sizes. So the small, medium size will be good for riders between 5'4" and 5'11". And then the large, extra large size will be good for riders between 5'11" and 6'5". And let me go a little bit more off-road here. So, this bike does have front and rear metal fenders too as well to keep you protected. Now, as far as range, this bike does have a 921.6 watt-hour LG battery. And this is going to be good for around 84 miles when you are using pedal assist on level 1. So that's going to be kind of slow, but that's for maximizing the range. And then when you are just using the throttle only, you should be able to get around 44 miles. But again, these estimates are just going to be based off of how much you weigh, if you're going uphill, a lot of wind and stuff. So just take that for what it is. But yeah, just taking a closer look at the design of this bike. Again, I love the black and white design. It's kind of like a halfway black, halfway white look to it. So it kind of reminds me of like a killer whale. So that's a good description for a bike of this size. But also the cable management up front is nice and professional. Everything is tied off really nicely. You do have some cables that are integrated in the frame of the bike for a nice clean look. And what else? Oh, this bike does come with a LED headlight on the front. And then also on the back, you will find some rear lights that also are brake lights as well. And they're kind of like split up on each side of the frame, which is definitely a unique look than just having like one single light. So I do like that. But yeah, no turn signals on this bike. Also no bell either, unless I like missed that in the box. So that's kind of weird, but they do have some really good, tools that come with the box to make the assembly pretty easy. It's not that hard to get this bike together. All right, so overall, I would say that this bike is a really good, solid bike. It doesn't have any like special features or unique things to it that you might find on some other e-bikes. This is just really trying to get all the basics right. And because of the size and also the step-through dynamic, it is going to be good for people of different, height ranges as well. But I think this is going to be a really great first e-bike for a lot of people, depending on, the size of tires that you want, and something that's kind of good for going all over the place in the city. But also at the price range, it's not too bad, especially having that torque sensor, which makes the pedaling really good. And I did find myself pedaling most of the time with this bike because it does feel so good. And usually I am using a throttle. So yeah, overall, very good, solid bike. I'm gonna drop a link down below in the description of this video so you can go check it out, pick one up for yourself, or just, see more information about the bike. But always don't be afraid to leave your comment down below and let me know what you think about this bike. But like always, I do want to thank you for watching this video, and I will catch you later. Peace.